welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Hannah. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm so excited for today's video because 'tis the season for moving in New York City, or just moving for me personally. I have about a month and a half left in my current apartment and then I will be done with this place, thankfully. So we've started the apartment tours. If you don't know me and you just happen to stumble across this video, my name is Hannah. I'm 25. I work full-time in the media industry, part-time YouTube, social media. I'm also a part-time grad school student. I'm getting my MBA. So I'm kind of juggling a bunch of different things, but I currently live in Manhattan. I've lived in Manhattan for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years. It'll literally be 2 years in December, which is crazy to me that I've lived here for that long. I feel like I just moved in 6 months ago. So for me, I'm ready to kind of move out of Manhattan. I don't necessarily want to leave like the New York City area, but I want something that's like a little bit cleaner. I want a luxury building. I want a little less chaos. And for me, that means either moving to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, which is right outside the city, or Jersey City, which is also right outside the city. They're just on opposite sides of Manhattan, and that's kind of like the happy medium for me. I am going to be moving in with my boyfriend. He's also been touring the apartments with me. You'll see him in a few of the video clips when I actually show the apartments. That's kind of like the rundown on where I'm looking to move, why I'm looking to move. In regards to the actual apartments that I'm looking for, I want a 1-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom with a den. If we could get a 2-bedroom in our price range, I wouldn't be against it, because I definitely would like to have the separation between work and personal life. If I can find a 2-bedroom in our budget, that would be great, but if not, a 1-bedroom with a den would be very ideal. We shall see when we finally go to St. Elise what we end up choosing, but that's just kind of what I'm looking for. We want an in-unit washer dryer. I want an apartment with good natural light. We want like a modern feel to it, but also something that's like very unique, which I know you're like watching this video and you're thinking this girl is crazy if she thinks that she can come to New York and be that picky, but after I show you guys these apartments in Jersey City, you're gonna know that it is actually possible to find something that you're looking for in your price range, as long as you're willing to kind of maybe explore outside of Manhattan. For the sake of today's video, I know I mentioned I'm looking at Williamsburg and Jersey City, but we're just gonna focus in on the Jersey City apartments, mainly because I haven't had an opportunity to look at Williamsburg apartments yet, so that'll be a whole separate video. Therefore, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe down below so you don't miss the Williamsburg apartment tour, the upcoming moving vlogs, the New York vlogs. Just stick around and join the fam. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of like updates on Instagram as well when I'm not posting on YouTube, so there's a lot of different content on there as well that's different from my actual YouTube channel. Alright, let's get into it. I talked enough. This intro is already long. So let's go ahead and start with the first apartment. The first apartment that we looked at in Jersey City was Liberty Towers. This apartment was basically on the very end of Jersey City towards the Statue of Liberty. One of the perks that they advertise and market for this apartment is the fact that you can lay on the rooftop pool and like literally see the Statue of Liberty from the apartment. So it was on the very end of Jersey City. There was like a little bay on the side of the apartment building where boats were docked and stuff like that. So it was like a little inlet where I guess jet skis are rented, boats are stored, yada yada yada. Just to give background on the location. Price for the 1-bedrooms were around $3,500. Now that price definitely varied depending on the square footage of the unit, the appliances that came with the unit, where the unit was located in the building. $3,500 was just like the average price that they quoted us for the units that we looked at personally, but it definitely did vary depending on like the size and location and other factors. Also, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but for the first 2 buildings that I'm going to mention in this video, I only have pictures of the units because I like wasn't prepared to tour this day. This was before we did a whole day of touring. This was like weeks before we did the actual touring. So I only have pictures of the units in the building for these 2 particular buildings, but for the other ones I do have videos. So I promise you'll get more than just pictures. Just bear with me here. All right, the pros for this building was that it was definitely way below our budget, $1,200 below our max budget, which was really, really nice, because if we're gonna move to Jersey City, one of the things that we mentioned to each other was that the whole reason to move to Jersey City would be to save money and to move out of Manhattan and to move out of Williamsburg. That was like the main pro of moving to Jersey City, because we literally had no clue what Jersey City had to offer to us other than apartments that were way below our price range, which was very nice. We could save money, we could travel more, we could get better furniture. The fact that these units were literally $1,000+ under our max budget was definitely something that we were looking for. Another pro was that the units overall were actually really nice. The way that they were set up was nice. They had modern appliances, the views were pretty, they had very large windows in every single unit and stuff like that. So the units overall were really, really nice to look at. And the pool on the rooftop is definitely a pro. That's like the one good thing about living in Jersey City, is that the majority of the apartment buildings have pools on the rooftop. Granted, you live in New York, so you can really only use the pool 4 months out of the year, but it's better than not having a pool at all. Moving on to the cons, the location. Like I mentioned, this was on the very far end of Jersey City, like towards the Statue of Liberty, so it was far from the main area of Jersey City. There's this one street in Jersey City that has a lot of restaurants, bars, little shops, and other buildings in the area. We were really, really far from that, at least like a 20-minute walk from the main area, which, thinking about it now, it definitely would have been a problem because it makes you not want to leave your apartment building and your apartment building area that much when there was really nothing near this particular building. So the fact that it was far away from everything was definitely a con in our opinion. Second con was that they were doing construction on the building. They were placing windows in actual units and they were doing the whole building. So we asked how loud the noise was, and she said it was pretty loud during the day, to the point where they were having to let people work in different spaces in the apartment building when the noise got too loud. So that was definitely a con. She also didn't know when the windows were going to be finished. She couldn't give us a time frame. The last thing I would want to happen is for us to move into an apartment building and them to be doing really loud and annoying construction for the entire year that we're living there. That would probably drive me up the entire wall. That was a big con. Second was that the building was on the older side compared to the others that we looked at. You'll see it throughout the video, but this was definitely a building that had been there for a while. Yes, the appliances in the apartment were modern. Yes, there was an in-unit washer dryer. Yes, the layout was nice, but compared to other apartments that we looked at, it wasn't as modern and it was a little bit more run down. We could get a better bang for our buck somewhere else. Next building that we saw, the price range for this building was between $35.99. That's the lowest price for a 1-bedroom that I was seeing on the website now, and the highest price that I was seeing was $4,300. I think the units that we looked at were between $3,800 and $4,200, which is still well below our max budget price range, but definitely on the higher end compared to the first building that we looked at. The pros of this building was that it was very, very, very modern. It was exactly what I was looking for in a building. Everything was just so nice, so luxurious. It felt clean, it felt welcoming, it smelled really good. Like overall, it was just a very modern appearance, which I personally really like. That's just what I tend to lean towards in apartments and houses in general. So I really liked that. The pool and outdoor area was really, really nice. It was nicer than the first building for sure, and everyone seemed to be out there enjoying the pool. Everyone seemed to be nice. It was like a good community. People seemed to be our age. So overall, like the outdoor area, the way that the pool was being used, the space in general was just definitely really, really nice. Third is that there was a super large, very modern gym, which for me, the gym elements don't really like sway my opinion either way, but for my boyfriend, who I will be living with, he definitely wants like a more modern gym with like nice equipment and stuff like that, because there's no point in paying the amenity fee if the gym isn't even nice. So he was looking for that, and this definitely had a very nice gym, probably the nicest gym out of all of the apartments that we viewed. And lastly, for the pros, the style of this one specific unit, I literally still have in my brain to this day. I am obsessed with the layout and the bathroom. Guys, the bathroom of this unit was insane. 2 sinks, granite countertop, just big space, great natural light. I just absolutely loved the shape of this unit itself. The only downfall for it was that there wasn't like a den or really any space that you'd be able to set up a desk where it would be out of the way. Like I mentioned, I kind of want like a separation of living space and workspace. That's definitely not a deal breaker for me. I love the style of this one specific unit, and like I said, I still think about it to this day because I was obsessed with the way the lighting came in, the layout, the bathroom, just everything about it I was obsessed with. Alright, moving on to the cons for this building. The outdoor space closes during the winter, which is fine, but most places just close the pool and leave the outdoor space open, aka you could use the grill all year round. But this place closes even the grills, so that sucks. Yes, the outdoor space was really nice, like I mentioned. Yes, the pool is nice. Yes, the space is nice, but if you can only use it 3 to 4 months out of the year, even the grills, it's like kind of makes the amenity fee seem like not really worth it, you know what I mean? So that seemed kind of odd to us, and I don't know why they do it or if there was like a safety reason for doing it, but I don't know, we just want to be able to like grill all year round if we want to. And the last con was that it was pricier for sure than the Liberty Towers, but the units were overall nicer. All right, next building. When we went to meet with the building manager, he asked if he could show us a bunch of different things. We told him we wanted a 1-bedroom or a 1-bedroom with a den and like what we were looking for, and he asked if he could show us multiple unit layouts. So we actually saw a studio, we saw a 1-bedroom, and we saw a 2-bedroom. The average price for the studio is $2,800. Average price for a 1-bedroom ranged from $3,300 to $3,800, and the average price for a 2-bedroom was $4,600 to $5,200. The pros of this building were that there were many different layouts to choose from. Our favorite layout was the loft style because it felt unique and it felt like a distinct separation of space. There were a lot of different elements to it that we just overall really liked. Like the living room area was massive, the kitchen was nice, it was the overall feel of the apartment was super modern, and the bedroom upstairs where like the loft area was really nice, and there was a room attached to the back of the bedroom that wasn't a closet. It was meant to be a workspace or something. There weren't light fixtures, which was kind of weird, so it's just kind of like this dark little room, but I guess you could put lighting in there and make it a workspace, so that was also really nice. The lighting in the units themselves was literally insane. Every single unit that we walked into had floor to ceiling windows, which if you know me and you know that I love natural light, this was like the best thing I had ever seen in my entire life. And like I mentioned, the price of the 1-bedrooms and the loft style and stuff like that was well below our budget, so that was also really nice. As long as we didn't do the 2-bedroom, which was like at the very higher end of our budget, we would have been saving a lot of money. So the cons of this place, which there are a lot, which is why we will not be moving there. One is how tall the building is. It has 40 plus floors to it. We toured a unit on the 39th floor, I think it was, and we looked down towards the ground and literally felt dizzy. I don't have a fear of heights, but it even made me feel dizzy, so I was like, okay, we would literally have to rent a unit on the 20th floor or below in order to be able to stay here, because anything above 20, you just look out the window and immediately feel sick to your stomach. So that was definitely a turn off for us. Next con was how clean the building and units were. The units that we looked at were literally just left in shambles. Granted, they were doing construction on a lot of them and they were in the middle of cleaning up from the previous tenants, but every single unit that we looked at was just really dirty, and the workers had left like old cups, old food wrappers, like just stuff everywhere, which was just kind of a turn off. Like when you show an apartment to a potential renter, you want it to look its best, and the fact that they didn't even put their best foot forward to make sure the units were presentable before they showed them to us said something to me that like it just was very off-putting. So we didn't like that. Also, when we went to see the community space, I literally almost stepped in throw up. That was in the middle of the floor by the elevators. It had been there for who knows how long. It was there when we went back down to the elevators. Like, it was just nasty. So that also put a bad taste in our mouth. We're like, okay, if someone threw up, it was reported and it still hadn't been cleaned up in like the 20 to 30 minutes we were in the community space, why would we want to live in a building like that? It was just nasty. It was gross. Was not the vibe. It was ugh, just no. Third con was that the unit did have a in-unit washer dryer, but the dryer had to have been from the 90s. Like, the washing machine itself was very modern and definitely updated, but for some reason the dryer that they matched with the washing machine literally looked like it was from the 90s or the 80s. It had such an old feel to it. It was also super small, so you wouldn't be able to do like big loads of laundry. From what I'm in right now, that's a step up because I don't even have an in-unit washer dryer now, but have that in the back of my head that we could move into a unit in this building and the washer and dryer just could potentially have issues and we wouldn't even be able to use it. Definitely didn't sit well with me, so that was a little off-putting. This building itself also had a lot of kids running around, which I have nothing against kids. I like kids. I was a nanny for years. I babysat growing up. I like kids, but I'm not at the age in my life where I want to be surrounded by them 24/7. So when we went out to the community space in the pool area, there were kids like literally taking over the pool in the yard. The building that we were touring was renters only, but they also have a building that was attached to the other side of the pool where that was a building where you could buy units. So it was run by the same company, but one building was for renters, one building was for buyers. So we're assuming that all the kids came from the apartments where you could like literally buy a unit. Just having them take over the pool and be loud and we're all over the place, it was just, it wasn't the vibe. I wasn't here for it. Like I said, nothing against kids. We like kids. I just don't want to be surrounded by them and have them take over the community space at this point in my life. Next con, like I mentioned before, the pool was shared with the owner, the building where you could own units. And normally for the other buildings that we looked at and from what we researched, the building that you can own units in normally has its own community space. It'll have its own pool, it'll have its own gym, it'll have its own set of things, and then the building where you rent from will have a whole other separate area for just us. So we'll have our own pool, we'll have our own gym, yada yada yada. But for some reason, this building in particular, you shared the amenity space, which isn't the worst thing in the entire world, but it just made it so that the building and the community space felt way more chaotic than it should have been, and we didn't really like the feeling of that. We just want to be able to ensure that we can get to the gym without any issues, we can use the pool without any issues, and it didn't feel that way when we were up there. And the last con that we had for this place was the location. Again, it wasn't super ideal. It was closer than the first one that we looked at, but it was still a good 15-minute walk to the main area, Jersey City, and it just felt like you were kind of on your own in this building and you had to walk to get to any dinner place, any lunch place, any shops, like anything of that sort. And the Jersey Transit and the ferry was also a bit of a walk, so the location for this place like definitely was not ideal. The next building that we looked at was called the Pier. The price range for the Pier was between $3,300 and $4,300 for a 1-bedroom. Again, this is dependent on the size of the apartment, where the apartment is located on the pier. This is actually a very cool building because it is quite literally on a pier. Like the apartment itself is the pier, and the entire apartment has views of Manhattan, especially the rooftop. So the style of the apartment building was overall super unique, and I just thought it was really cool, which is why we looked at it. The pros of the building, like I said, it was cool overall. It was like on a pier, which is very unusual and like unique, so that was cool. The views of Manhattan were the pros, and the units themselves were very spacious. The living room area was really nice, the bathroom was really nice, walk-in closets, bedroom was nice, so on and so forth. So the unit that we saw was huge in and of itself and a good size for the price you would be paying. There are a lot of cons to this building, similar to the last one. Ironically or unironically, they are managed by the exact same people, so I'm wondering if maybe this particular management group, like the type of buildings they manage, is just not our taste. I don't know. Cons of the building, number one is the location. It's a different location from the first building that we saw and the last building that I was just talking about, but it was still out of the way because it was literally on the water. So you'd have to walk 10 to 15 minutes to get to the main area. You'd also have to walk 10 to 15 minutes to get to like the path or anything of that sort. So it was just kind of inconveniently located, even though the location was cool. Second was that the walls and the floors of these buildings were so thin. We could literally hear every single person's conversation when they were in their own unit with the door shut. So that was like the first thing that turned us off, was that walking down the hallway, we could literally hear every single thing people were saying. We could even hear people taking a shower, which was just very odd and not the vibe, not what you're looking for. You don't want to walk into a place and like just automatically hear other people in their own apartments. That is such a turn off. Not to mention that when we walked into the unit itself, within the first 5 minutes we were there, kids were running up and down the floor above us and literally sounded like elephants. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that at this point I'm extremely triggered by hearing things not only above me but also like on the side of walls, because the people that live here are extremely loud and they don't even mean to be, but the walls are so thin that I can hear every single thing they're doing, and I can hear the building next to me as well. They're in a completely separate apartment building, but I can literally hear what they're doing in their own unit in a completely separate building. So at this point I'm triggered by noises that come through walls and ceilings. So the second that I heard kids running up and down the unit above us, I was like, that's going to be a no from me. Immediately crossed off the list. The fact that the walls and the floors and the ceilings are that thin is just such a turn off. It's a big no in my book. Third con was that there was no pool, which didn't really make sense to me because this would have been the perfect apartment building for a pool because of the fact that the views of Manhattan were insane. Like, you could easily put a pool on top of that rooftop and then crank the rent price of this building because everyone would want to rent it out because of the fact that the views of like the World Trade Center and the Empire State Building and just Manhattan in general were insane. Like, this is the perfect place to be on the 4th of July because you can see absolutely everything. So I don't know why they didn't do that when they built the building, but like, I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, I didn't build the building, so I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm sure there was a reason for it. And then the last con for this building was that the unit that we saw had a porch, but the porch was literally 2 feet long and 2 feet wide, so it only had room for your body to step out, and that was literally it. AKA there was no point to this porch that they're advertising because you couldn't put a chair out there, you couldn't sit out there, you could literally just open the door and get fresh air if you wanted to, but at that point just open up the windows and get fresh air. Like, there's no point of this porch. Don't advertise a porch if it's not actually a porch. It's just a standing slab of concrete. It was weird. So that was a con. Moving on to the last building that we saw in Jersey City. This one we saw last minute. We actually meant to see another building, but just after walking around Jersey City all day and getting a feel for Jersey City, we realized that the building that we were supposed to look at was just not in an area that we would have wanted to live in. It was just far out of the way. It was really close to the highway. It just wasn't ideal. So we swapped it for a last minute tour. We went in with an open mind, but we were also a little nervous because we were reading reviews before we went to tour it, and there were a lot of very angry reviews about this building. I'm not sure if the building was just new and building management was getting used to running the place, because sometimes the newer buildings, especially in New York, have bad reviews within the first few months that they open because building management is just getting used to running the place, or sometimes they need to like swap out building management, so on and so forth. So I'm not sure what the issue with that was, but there was complaints about like the elevators, the noise, the management, the amenity spaces being closed when they shouldn't have been closed, like just crazy stuff that was definitely raising multiple red flags in our heads. But like I said, we went into it with an open mind because we wanted to get a vibe for the place ourselves. The 1-bedroom apartment, I couldn't find the exact price because we did like a self-guided tour for this unit and there wasn't even anyone to greet us. It was through an app, which also was very off-putting because we just didn't get a good like vibe for the place, and we wanted to be able to ask questions, which we couldn't because there was nobody to answer our questions. There was only the front desk people that sit in the lobby and check people in, and they didn't know anything about the units we were looking at, so that was a little weird. But anyway, so I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they priced the 1-bedroom, no, they showed us a 2-bedroom unit when we wanted to see a 1-bedroom unit, which was also put a bad taste in our mouth. But I'm pretty sure the 1-bedroom units, when we looked online, were around $4,500, which is just not a price we were willing to pay to live in Jersey City. Yes, the building was nice, and yes, the building was modern, and the location was perfect, but it just defeated the whole purpose of us living in Jersey City. So $4,500 for a 1-bedroom was going to be a no-go off the bat, but like I said, we were going into it with an open mind. Pros of this building were that it was very, very, very modern. It was definitely a newer building, not necessarily within the last like year or two, but within the last 8+ years, I would say. If I had to guess, I actually have no clue, but it was a modern building. The building itself was really, really nice. Elevators were nice. so on and so forth. The rooftop was also really nice. It had a pool. The day we went to look at this building, they were throwing a pool party for all the residents. So when we went to view the rooftop and the pool, music was blasting and people were out there socializing, and there was free food and free drinks and stuff of that sort. So that was kind of a fun vibe, and everyone there seemed to be about our age or maybe a little bit older than us, which also was like kind of nice that people our age would be living in the building and maybe we can make friends. Pool was really nice. Outdoor area was very nice. Overall, we liked the vibe of that space. Moving on to the cons. Like I mentioned before, the tour itself just turned us off because there was no one there to greet us. The app itself was very weird and you couldn't really navigate it very easily. Also, we wanted to see a 1-bedroom unit and it showed us a 2-bedroom unit. Granted, the 2-bedroom unit was staged, so it was definitely a model unit just for you to get a vibe of the building itself, but I would have rather seen a 1-bedroom unit so I could get a feel for how big it would be, where desks could go, where the bed could go, where the furniture could go. They just didn't even offer to show us that, so that kind of turned us off. Next was that the gym was on the rooftop and you had to walk outside to get to the gym. So I did mention the rooftop was really nice, the pool was really nice, but for some reason, and I don't know why they did this, the gym is on the rooftop as well, but it's in its own section. It's in its own indoor section that you actually have to walk outside across the rooftop to get to. So we were just thinking about it, like during the winter when it's snowing or during a huge storm, we're not going to want to walk outside to go to the gym because we're going to get wet or it's going to be cold. I don't know why they made the gym like that. Like, it would have been very easy for them to just make a tunnel and attach the gym to the inside section of the building so you could have like an indoor tunnel, but they didn't do that. So it just made for a weird layout, which we didn't like. And like I said, the last con is that it was just overall on the higher end of our budget for sure for Jersey City. We're not trying to spend our entire budget on an apartment in Jersey City. Yes, the units are nice. Yes, the building was nice. If we wanted to spend $4,800 on an apartment, we would have just lived in Williamsburg. So that was definitely a major con. That is it for all the apartments that we toured in Jersey City. We toured a total of 6 apartments, and I think that is it for the Jersey City apartment tours, unless some building pops up that we can't resist touring, which I don't foresee happening. Our next group of tours will be in Williamsburg once apartments start popping up in our date range to move in. Jersey City overall was a very cool area. I could definitely see us living there if we don't find anything in Williamsburg. So with that being said, I think we're definitely leaning more towards Williamsburg, but I am almost 100% positive that Williamsburg is for us over Jersey City. With that being said, Jersey City is a very nice area. I think within the next few years, it's going to be very up and coming. It's already very up and coming. You can find a bunch of really nice buildings, really nice apartments within your price range, especially if you're living with your significant other or roommate. You'll pay way less than you're paying in Manhattan and way less than you're paying in Williamsburg, which is definitely a big pro of Jersey City. Also, the Path, which is Jersey City's like subway system, isn't that complicated to navigate. For some reason, I had it in my head, and I feel like most people have it in their head, that the Path is 1, more expensive than the subway, and 2, way more inconvenient than the subway, which just isn't really the truth. Can you transfer from the subway to Jersey City Transit for free? No, you cannot. But it's only $2.50 or $2.75, whatever it is nowadays, to get on the Path. So that's not like a deal breaker in my book. Also, the Path runs pretty frequently during the weekday and every 20 minutes on the weekend, and it's pretty fast and the stops are convenient. So it's literally like the subway system for New York. It's just Jersey City's own version of the subway, and I didn't think it was that hard to navigate or use or that inconvenient. So for anyone that thinks the Path is inconvenient, check yourself, because it's fine. It's literally fine. I thought it was going to be way worse than it actually was. Also, there's a lot of ferry stops that run along Jersey City, so if you don't feel like taking the subway and it's really nice out one day, you can check the ferry schedule and take the ferry for $2.75 as well, and it'll run you literally right across the river to Manhattan, which is probably more convenient than the Path on a nice day anyways, so that's always an option. You're also right by Hoboken, which is a very up and coming area as well. There's like a specific street in Hoboken, I think it's called like Market Street or something of that sort, I could be totally making that up, that has so many shops on it, so many restaurants, so many bars, bookstores, just an overall very nice area. It has like a neighborhood feel to it, and it was super clean and modern, and that's just like a hop, jump, and a skip away, or whatever the saying is. so that was nice to have that right there. I'm gonna stop rambling, but overall Jersey City is very nice, way more affordable than Manhattan and Williamsburg. Are we going to live there? Probably not, but it definitely isn't off the books for future apartments that we would live in. But if you're looking to save money and you're looking to move into a nice building, definitely check out the area. We loved it and we really enjoyed touring all the different apartments. There are so many different apartments to choose from, so many different styles to choose from. So I honestly would say just pick a weekend, book a bunch of tours and knock it all out and then make your decision, because that's what we ended up doing and I felt like it was perfect. That is it for this video. Like I mentioned before, make sure you stick around and subscribe down below if you're not subscribed already, so that you don't miss the Williamsburg apartment videos, the moving vlogs, the New York City content, everything we do on this channel. Also make sure to follow my Instagram, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.